Everybody, and welcome to another one in our series, Breaking Down Barriers. My name is Chris Igwe, and as you may know by now, I use this as the backdrop for our exchange and discussions, and it is Breaking Down Barriers, my journey from a small African village to the world stage, breaking down barriers. I pick a chapter, I take you through the contents and the idea, not the whole contents, but the point that I want to get across. Today's chapter is entitled, Expect Unexpected Things to Happen. Expect unexpected things to happen. Now, what does that mean? Well, it could be anything from something small. So, for example, for those of us who travel a lot, the flight is cancelled, flight's delayed, the train that you use to get there, maybe there's a problem on the line. Maybe you are going to an appointment or to a meeting somewhere and the other party is late. Anything. It could be trivial, but it could be of a significant nature. The key thing here is we have to develop a mindset which says anything can happen, expect the unexpected to happen, and then how can you transform that unexpected into something really meaningful for you in your life, in your career, or whatever. And here I have quotes in my book. So this one is in 3 words. This is from Robert Frost, who's an American poet. And he says, in 3 words, I can sum up everything I have learnt about life. And the 3 words he uses are, it goes on. In 3 words, says Robert Frost, I can sum up everything that I have learnt about life. And in those 3 words, he says, it goes on. Now, the fact that it goes on means that it is not the end of the world. Some things can be incredibly trivial, but some things can be incredibly important. And if we look at them, we say to ourselves, how am I going to deal with this situation? What could be some of those unexpected things that can happen to you or that you know happen to other people? For example, they lose their job. They expected to get a pay increase, a salary increase. Maybe they were verbally promised it or told about it, but it never came in a written form. Maybe the job that you applied for didn't come through and you expected to have that opportunity. You were the best candidate for that position, but something happened. Some of those things is what I'm saying, they're the big things that change your life. But those unexpected things are then there to test your resolve, to see exactly how you are going to pursue your life. As Robert Frost says, it goes on. Life goes on. It's not the end of the world. But for so many of us, it's so important that how we embrace whatever has happened to us, transform that into a positive outcome, a positive energy. Now, how can you do that? Well, one thing is to say, why didn't X, Y, or Z happen? Or why did X, Y, and Z happen to me? You go into a state of, and in my book I have what I call critical thinking questions, which means that you have to think about it yourself. And one of the questions that I ask here is, assuming you agree that unexpected events happen to us, how will you prepare yourself for the next event? Be aware that there will always be the next event because that is life. So how will you prepare yourself? How can you, through this video, this book that I'm sharing with you, say to yourself, stuff happens, but how am I going to deal with it? How am I going to change that? What can I do with regard to that? And whilst it's not so easy to do, it is nonetheless important. And I want to give you a few examples to help you develop this in your own mind. So, as a young man, well, I was a student and I expected to pass my maths exams. I was very good at maths. I needed maths to become a civil engineer. And in one of the exams, I didn't pass. I didn't pass maths. But I absolutely needed it to become a civil engineer. We don't know what happened. My teacher didn't know what happened. I was really good. I studied very hard and didn't get there. But then the opportunity was to say, okay, well, that's not the end of that. I still want to be a civil engineer. How do I develop that? How do I work towards that? And I decided then to go to the next stage of studying, the next exam, in fact. So I wasn't precluded from going to the next stage, and I went to the higher level. It was a struggle, it was a challenge, but I got my maths and I went on to become a civil engineer. But I didn't expect that to happen because I was cruising. I was really doing incredibly well. What about maybe in sports? You're good at sports. The Olympics has just finished, but you didn't quite make the medal or the level you wanted. I was a prolific athlete, 100 meters, long jump, high jump, and yet there are things that I failed at in competitions, which I was not expected to fail at, and yet I did. But then chose to use that as a lesson to strengthen my resolve, not to give up, but to continue the fight, to find out what is the next thing that I have to do in order to achieve. You never give up. You continue to pursue it. But you see, it's very easy when something happens to you. For example, like I say, you had a request for a salary increase and it was promised to you, or they said, yeah, you should get it, or you will get it, or your evaluation allowed you to get it, and yet it didn't come through. Are you going to blame the company? Are you going to blame someone else? When your flight is cancelled or delayed or whatever, who are you going to blame? You can't play the blame game in this world, in our world of personal development and growth. Things happen, we deal with them. How we deal with them is a sense of our character and our ability to overcome those. So in wrapping up, I just want you to take that time to think about those things that have happened that you didn't expect to happen. Be prepared for those that will happen that you don't expect, and how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with that? And I'll give you, just finally in wrapping up, one example which really touched me in many ways is a friend came over to visit us in Paris from the UK, and she and her daughter who'd come to visit were due to catch the flight back to the UK. And the train broke down from Paris to the airport. And then there was nobody to help understand, because she doesn't speak much French, how to get to the airport without missing the flight. So she was in touch with me, and initially she couldn't get hold of me, and she was really irate, very annoyed, and she recounted the story to me, and she said, I started to think of Chris. How would Chris deal with this situation of unexpected events? And she used that to help settle her, which I hope this video will help you do if you don't do that already, is to find that peace and say, it's happened, I need to deal with it. And she was able to catch a train, a bus actually, from the center of Paris. So she got off from the previous one, she was able through, by then I was able to give her some guidance, caught the bus, but still concerned she wasn't going to make it to the airport. But she did in the end. But the thing there was, it didn't go as planned. It was unexpected, very hot. How do you deal with it? What are the solutions? How do you get to the airport with your suitcases and your daughter to make sure you get back without missing your flight? And her thought was, how would Chris react? What is it? And I gave her somehow at distance that peace. So you find it in your own way, as I get attacked by this fly, the joys of being outside in the countryside. But yeah, unexpected things will happen. Deal with them, find a way to get over them, and help them to use that situation to allow you to grow. I hope this has resonated, left you with some thoughts. Feel free to like, comment, and share, and please feel free to subscribe equally to the channel. And I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Thank you.